Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the May 19th, 2021 regular meeting of the Oceanside City Council. We're going to begin this evening with an advisory on behalf of the City Clerk.
We are excited to offer public participation in person at meetings again. Please bear in mind that the council chambers are open with a limited capacity as per the state's guidelines. We will ensure that all persons who wish to speak on an agenda item will be given an opportunity to speak. I will call speakers by name so that you will know when it is your turn. We respectfully request that you exit the chambers once you are finished commenting on your item to assist us in maintaining capacity restrictions. Please follow the guided path to enter and exit the meeting. If you require assistance, please let a staff person know. If you are on Zoom and wish to speak on an item, you must have registered to speak with the clerk's office prior to 4:00 p.m. If you are in attendance and wish to speak on an item, please register to speak with one of our staff members in the lobby prior to when public comment is called for the item. If you have material to distribute to the council, please hand it to me and I will distribute it to the council.
Thank you, Mr. Navarro. We're going to begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you will please rise and join with me. And then afterwards, please stay standing for the invocation. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if you could remain standing, please. We do have Father Charles here from Prince of Peace Abbey, and I understand that the bells are still ringing, so if you could just give us a few seconds here so that we can hear his blessings. Good evening, Father Charles. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Good evening. Thank you so kindly, Mayor.
And thank you.
Let us pray. Loving Creator of all that we are and all that we have, kindly allow your provident hand and heart to guide us this day so as to further your plan to foster peace and justice to those whom you have created and whom you love. You have graced us with a gem of a city where an increasing number seek to reside and an even greater number visit for legitimate enjoyment and recreation. May we never take lightly the stewardship of this precious gift, so as to further your hidden plan to make all of us aware that it has come from you. We turn to you now in thankfulness with firm commitment to be mindful of those whom we are called to serve. May selfless service to all, but especially those most in need, be our final goal. We ask this in your divine name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We're going to begin proclamations and presentations with the San Diego Humane Society and Spca Pet of the Month.
Hey, we just need you to unmute.
Thank you. Sorry
There
about
you
that. Technical difficulty, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Kelly, and I'm the Community Engagement Outreach Coordinator here at the San Diego Humane Society. I'm here at our Oceanside campus at our Cats and Small Pets location. And right now we are really focusing on our small pets. So we have about 24 small animals right now in our Oceanside campus, and that's a plethora of rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, rats. So we have a lot of small pets available for adoption right now. So this is one of them. This is Charming. He's actually a staff and volunteer favorite. He's been with us since January. He was an owner surrender because his owner could no longer take care of him. He's about 3 years old. He was an indoor rabbit. Indoor rabbits have a great life inside. You can have a great enrichment for them, just like this kennel that we have here for him, for his litter box, his food, his little hidey hole, everything that he needs. Timothy hay, plethora of that all the time. They have pellets that they eat, and then also fresh veggies, usually leafy greens like romaine lettuce, parsley, cilantro, stuff like that, and just a little bit of carrots. I know a lot of people think, you know, Bugs Bunny with the carrot all the time. Actually, carrots have too much sugar for rabbits, so just a little bit, maybe once a week or a couple times a week is good, but really, just like us, we really need a limit on that sugar intake. So if you are looking to adopt a small pet or any other animal, please go to our website at sdhumane.org. We have so many lovely animals waiting for homes, and please be aware that we do have 4 different campuses. So not only do we have our Oceanside campus, we also have our Escondido, San Diego, and El Cajon. So I also want to mention that May is Microchip Your Pet Month. We're really revamping to get to July 4th. 1 out of 3 pets in their lifetime goes missing. So I know that a lot of us think, oh, my animal only goes with me, or they never go outside. Just remember that accidents do happen, and this is really just a safety net for your animal to find their way back home quickly and with less stress, and with you with less stress. So if anybody is interested in checking out what type of microchips, we actually are taking them by appointment only right now, and they are $25. So if you go onto our website, sdhumane.org, go to microchip vaccines, all that information, it'll tell you how you can make an appointment to get your animal chipped and chipped safely for July 4th. So, and of course, he just ate, now he's taking a nap, and now he's gonna come out. Charming is, his name is it, honestly. He is sweet, he's smart, he kind of does his own thing. I mean, he's a rabbit. I've been sitting in here and he just hangs out. So rabbits are really, really great little creatures. And if anybody was looking to learn more about them, please check us out, sdhumane.org. Hopefully, you know, our doors will be opening soon in June. So just keep aware of that. Of course, everybody needs to be masked, and we're taking our safety precautions and everything, just like all of us here in Oceanside. But Charming, available for adoption at our Oceanside campus. Adopt, don't shop. And thank you, everybody, and have a lovely week.
Thank you very much. Next, can you hear me? Yes, just want to make sure, because this is a very, very important part of tonight's agenda, and that is to celebrate our employees of the year. We've had a very, very tough year this year. It was very scary. COVID-19, you know, we came to fear it. We came to wonder, you know, what is this and how can it spread? And what kind of work can I do and yet stay safe? And can my family at home stay safe? It was a very, very, very tough time for our employees here in Oceanside, and we were essential workers. So obviously everyone had to come to work. Those who could do this by staying home and being on their computers, I don't know, 10 hours a day, were able to do so. But everyone just did a great, great job for us this past year. And so we do have a few employees, very special recognitions for Employees of the Year. We even have some of the supervisors here in the room. So I'm hoping that, you know, if you're here, you can come down and say a few words. We're going to start off with Jackie Bickford. Hi, Jackie. And, you know, I would love to have you guys join me here, because this is, you know, come on in front. Come on down. And also, Kirk, you're here, so would you like to come down? Now, Kirk had some wonderful things to say about you, Jackie. And when I reached out to him, he said, well, it was, you know, it was obvious who it was going to be. So I do have the words that you sent me, but I'd like for you to say them, if that's okay, Kurt. And this is code enforcement. And here is yet another mic. So yay, we don't have to be passing it back and forth.
Thank you. Dedication, enthusiasm, and professionalism are qualities that define Jackie Bickford. She's been with the City of Oceanside since 2002 and promoted to the Code Enforcement Division several years ago. In her role, she does an incredible job ensuring the public's safety and quality of life. Jackie is known within the division as someone who willingly assists her coworkers with special projects when needed and will get things done. Her positive attitude and sense of humor make work enjoyable for those around her. I am very proud, but not surprised, that she was selected as the Code Enforcement Division Employee of the Year. Congratulations, Jackie.
And I don't know, yeah. Wait, hold on, we're taking pictures here. Okay, thank you. Did you want to say a couple words? Okay, well, thank you so much for all the work that you did for us. Thank you. Yay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. Next, Terry, this is, they're special, isn't it? They're all special. And next is Terry Norman Brown. And she's from the city manager's office, and our city manager is going to say a few words about her. No, I don't know. There's a whole lot that she can say. Terry, you've been the bomb. I don't know. Ever since I met you, you've been the bomb.
So yes, Terry has done a phenomenal job over the last year, particularly in her role as our lead public information officer for the Emergency Operations Center. She worked many, many late hours, often till 8 o'clock at night, as well as many weekend hours, posting updates about the ever-changing orders and requirements for our community, and responding to probably at this point thousands of community questions. And she's just gone far and above. She really does embody the city's mission to enhance the quality of life, outstanding service to our community. And so for that reason, City Manager's Office selected Terry, honored her as our 2020 Employee of the Year, the first time in many years the City Manager's Office has honored anyone. So just thank you so much, Terry. You are the bomb.
Thank you for all that social media that you do for us. I mean, I don't know the job description, but you become the queen of social media. Next. Philip Scattergood. Building Division, do we have, okay, we do have someone who would like to say wonderful things here. Philip, so thank you so much, Philip, and here we go with the wonderful words.
Sure, excellent. It's my pleasure to introduce and congratulate Phil Scattergood. Phil is one of our premier plan checkers in the Building Division of the Development Services Department. Bill actually joined the city about 15 years ago. Phil, sorry. We have brought in Phil Tuck as well, sorry. Phil has been with the city about 15 years. He carries several certifications as a building plan checker, and actually has done most of his certifications after coming to the city, which requires a lot of sacrifice because it takes a lot of time and effort to reach those certifications. And he also has a task certification, which is one of the premier building certifications having to do with disability access plan checks. Phil is a real workhorse. I know David Gans, our building official, speaks very highly of Phil. He has over 25 certifications, I believe now, and is certainly one of our premier employees in our department too. So, Phil, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Next we have Shannon Foley. You've seen Shannon here during council meetings. There are people who are behind a lot of questions and just, just continuing to be give that great customer service. Shannon, thank you so much. And we pass to yours.
Absolutely. So Shannon is an associate planner with the planning division. She's a fantastic employee, hard worker, has a very positive attitude, and completely embodies the spirit of teamwork in the city. One of Shannon's premier responsibilities of late was managing the city's short-term rental ordinance process, which for many of you know is a very contentious process with a lot of competing interests. Shannon couldn't have managed that program better and was completely dedicated from day one to bring that ordinance to fruition. She was very instrumental in terms of negotiating the final outcome of the short-term rental ordinance, and to this day is doing a great job in continuing our monitoring of those efforts. In addition to that, Shannon is one of the familiar faces at our public counter, so she does quite a bit of public interaction with both the phones and folks coming to the public counter. Everyone loves working with Shannon. She's just a fantastic employee, and I couldn't think of anyone more well-deserving, so congratulations, Shannon.
Thank you. So I understand one of these are going in and out. Which one? Is it mine? This one or that one? Okay. Still experimenting here. Okay, next is Bill Tuck. Engineering Division. Now, did some folks had their families? Do you have any family here with you?
No, they're actually watching live right now. So.
Okay, well, hi. Well, we have some wonderful words for you too, Bill.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. So Bill Tuck, another wonderful employee, and again, couldn't think of anyone more deserving of this Employee of the Year award. So Bill actually works in our engineering division. He's, in addition to being kind of a jack of all trades in our engineering division in terms of reviewing development applications, he's got some really premier skills that everyone goes to Bill for. He's great at doing historical research, which can be a real pain, but he's able to pull out the most obscure historic records that exist in the city in a second. So people come to Bill for a lot of information. Probably most importantly, recently, Bill was actually in charge of producing the daily COVID-19 graphs that were circulated throughout the community, and did that above and beyond all of his other duties, which required a lot of dedication, work in the evenings, on the weekends to get those reports out. And those reports were very, very important to a lot of people in the community. And Bill was the one that produced those charts and did a great job in doing that. I also want to inform folks that Bill was actually just reclassified to a city surveyor position effective July 1st, and something that he really ascribed to do. He is a licensed surveyor, which is a very difficult certification to get, and the city is very lucky to have its own on-staff city surveyor that we'll have come July 1st, and well-deserving of that honor as well. I know it's something that was really near and dear to your heart, so congratulations, Bill.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Next we have, just really quick, yeah. Next we have Rob Hogan, Solid Waste City Services Division. And we have Kyle Koger. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. So Rob is a long 22-year veteran of the Public Works Department. He's a maintenance worker in solid waste, and I wrote a short paragraph for him. Rob Hogan has 22 years of service with the City of Oceanside. During this unprecedented year, Rob has continued to come to work every day with his usual optimistic and positive attitude toward the mission, which is greatly appreciated. Over the past few months, Rob has really stepped up in the absence of a maintenance specialist and his shift teammate, essentially making him the lone field staff member in the solid waste program. Rob has assisted us in keeping the landfills in compliance, completing his normal duties, as well as going above and beyond completing special requests for the department and the community. Rob represents a continual source of reliability for the Public Works Department, is always flexible and patient as priorities change. He consistently completes tasks in a quality manner and is a great communicator. Rob embodies what public service is all about, doing his part in making our community a better place for all. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Next, we have Nathan Erb, Harbor Division. We have Ted Chaffone here to say some wonderful words. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you. So Nathan joined Oceanside Harbor in 2011 as a maintenance worker 1, and within less than a year and a half, he had qualified to advance to a maintenance worker 2. Nathan has so many qualifications. He's a trained and certified diesel tech. He handles all of our welding needs. He's HVAC certified. He is HOSWAPR certified. He's qualified to run every piece of power equipment in the harbor, including our tractor, Bobcat, and much, much more. There's so many different maintenance issues in the harbor, and I consider Nathan our go-to guy. When a problem exists, we always count on him for an ingenious solution. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, we're all smiling under these masks. We should have just, drawn one on. And next we have Brianna Ortiz. Yay, Brianna. And it's for our Fleet Division.
Thank you. Congratulations, Brianna. Brianna has proven to be an exceptional employee as an administrative analyst for our fleet management. She can be counted on to work independently, complete assignments on time, and take additional tasks as needed. Brianna recently took on the analytical, complex task of fleet rate calculations and completed them within the given timeline. Brianna is a quick learner and a great addition to the fleet team. She is highly valued and continues to learn new tasks outside of her comfort zone within the Public Works Administration. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. We actually had 12 altogether, and 8 are here. And the last person to be here is Julie Cook. Oh, I hope everybody heard that. Let me just say that again. Julie Cook, Employee of the Year 2020, Real Estate Division. We could applaud again, yeah.
Congratulations, Julie. Julie responds to all customers, both internal and external, with a high sense of urgency and kindness. She is willing to go the extra mile to get her job done and keeps focused on doing what is best for the city. Property management has been shorthanded all year due to the retirement of 2 employees, and it has been difficult on an already small staff. Julie has stepped up and taken on additional work to keep the office moving forward. She sets an outstanding example for her fellow employees. Thank you for taking great pride in your work. And I also want to say she's a property agent in our real estate division. I don't think I mentioned that at the beginning. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A couple more here that I guess you didn't get.
Oh, okay.
Christine Walker.
Christine Walker. Huh? Christine Walker. Sorry. You know, sometimes, the best is, you save the best for last. Although everybody's fantastic, okay? Really, really. But we do have this Employee of the Year 2020 certificate to thank you so much. And we also have a few really good words.
Thank you. So again, it's my pleasure to introduce Christine Walker. Christine is a valued member of the Development Services Department's admin staff. A few things about Christine that are worthy to mention, and also what was the reasons that we selected her as Employee of the Year. So Christine is actually probably the person in the Development Services Department that has the most customer contact of all of our employees. She actually answers the main telephone line to our department, and as part of that is the front face of the department, the front face of the city actually, to many of our customers. She's got an incredibly helpful spirit about her, an incredibly friendly and outgoing personality. So we couldn't ask for a better person to be that first face that customers come into contact with within our department. She's beloved in our department. During the COVID period in particular, she went completely above and beyond in terms of making sure that our staff and our customers were protected to the greatest extent possible. She was responsible for making sure that our department was fully stocked with all of our COVID-related supplies and protection materials. She made sure that everyone was keeping their workspaces clean, including our kitchen and our refrigerator. But just a wonderful employee, just a great member of our team, and someone that really is one of, I would say, one of our anchor staff members in the department. Just a real pleasure to always be around, and a great positive attitude. So congratulations, Christine.
And we have one more, and that is Jordan Queen. Jordan Queen. Jordan Queen, Employee of the Year 2020, Parks and Recreation Division. We've got Mark Olson here to say why she was the Employee of the Year. So here, I was going to give you the certificate.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time. Not much more can be said about Jordan. Jordan, over the past year, jumped in. She's been the face of Parks and Recreation. She's the first person that the customers are greeted by. And during the challenging transition year, every single time I threw an assignment at her, she just accepted it. She accepted it, and not only did she take it on, she made it great. She made it seamless. She worked very seamlessly with our partners in different departments, and Jane in finance, and the partners over there, IT, making our website better, and just really was a key in making sure that we were communicating with the public and making sure they were getting the best possible product from Parks and Recreation. So we couldn't be happier to have Jordan Queen represent us as the Employee of the Year.
Thank you very much.
We would need to do the roll call.
Did I forget about that?
Yeah.
Well, it was the bells, right?
Yeah, the bells.
Roll
We can blame
call.
the bells on this one.
Right.
I'll do the roll call. Mayor Sanchez?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Kime?
Here.
Councilmember Jensen?
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez? Here. Councilmember Weiss?
And we actually had a few people who were not here for this, and that would be Myrna Arevalo, Housing Division, also Employee of the Year 2020. We had let's see. I think that's it. I think that might be it. So thank you so much. Closed session report.
Well, this will be quick. There was no closed session, so there's nothing to report.
Thank you. We have consent calendar items 3 through 16. Item 6, please note, item 6 has been pulled by staff and will be and is continued. I understand that we have pulled For discussion, item number 10, any others that are being pulled by the public?
Item number 5 has been pulled by the public in person.
Okay. All right, is there a motion as to the balance? Okay, there's a motion by the Deputy Mayor, Wayne Kime. Is there a second? Okay, motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Item number 5 is approval of change orders 5, 6, and 7 to the Public Works Agreement with PCN3 Inc. for the beachfront improvements project in the total amount of $423,882 for a revised contract amount of $10.5 million and authorization for the city engineer to execute the change orders.
And we only have one member of the public that wishes to speak on this item, Dan Matlock, and he is here in person.
Good evening, council members. Dan Matlock, South Oceanside. In the next 10 minutes, this body is going to up the ante on a contract by more than $420,000 for a contract total of more than $10,500,000. But what I would request of the council is to ponder this question both before and after your vote. What will this council do in the coming weeks and months to protect this investment for infrastructure in the years to come? And maybe ask yourself the question, why do we even need these facilities if we have no sand on our beaches? For a number of years, the city has been focused on several other major assets in the city, and rightfully so, namely South Morrow Hills, the Coast Highway Vision Plan, soccer fields, and a pool at El Corazon, downtown development, the harbor, and the list goes on. But significant attention to one other extremely important asset has largely been neglected for over 50 years. Our beach, that is sand on the beach, permanent sand on the beach. Sand with a resiliency system in place to keep sand on the beach. SOS, Save Our Sand, comprised of a group of over 300 Oceanside residents and downtown business owners and leaders, projected to be over 1,000 by the end of the year, is seeking to support this council in its efforts to put in place secure systems to protect these investments in the downtown area and our beaches. It is incumbent on this council to get this issue corrected in the coming weeks. A unanimous council on this one issue would go a long way in proving to the citizens and business owners and community leaders that this council is serious about protecting the future of Oceanside. Incidentally, Save Our Sand also stands for Save Our City and the city's future financial health. Without permanent sand, the city's health and business community investment of over $1 billion in the downtown area is at serious risk. And so to emphasize, all of the Strand, the city's investment in beach facilities, and the entire downtown is at risk in the future if major efforts are not made to protect these assets. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. No other public, is that correct?
No other public.
Okay, Councilmember Weiss? Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and second to approve. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We go now to item number 10. That is approval of a 3-year property use agreement with Freedom Boat Club for dock space located at the main Harbor Village dock and boat slips located in the commercial dock area for a 3-year minimum total revenue of $95,048 and authorization for the administrative officer to execute the agreement. And this was pulled by Councilmember.
Can the Harbor Director come up, please? I have a few questions on this item. Just want to clarification for the public, I've been in communication with some commercial fishermen, both that are existing as well as two that have applied for, to be on the wait list, to be up for the next commercial slip that becomes available. From what I understand, you've been working with various businesses. The most recent is the one we've negotiated a lease with for 3 years. From my understanding, these 4 leases are for commercial businesses or commercial fishermen. What does the city plan to do as far as working with these 2 applications and getting them into, some slip that's available, so we don't take up this space for them?
Honorable Mayor Sanchez, Councilmember Rodriguez, could I read some information I have here? I think it's going to answer all those questions and maybe provide you with more information. So at the time we negotiated an agreement to lease these 4 slips for the boat club use, there were no 26-foot commercial fishing vessels on the waiting list. Resolution 8603 indicates the district reserves the right to use these slips for other purposes if such slips are not occupied by commercial fishing vessels. In the future, as in the past, anytime a commercial dock becomes available, we're obligated to go to Helgren's first, as it's in their lease, with first right of refusal. And we have in the past, every time, and we will in the future, and every time they've, not, optioned to take those slips, we then go to our wait list. And again, at that time, there was no 26 commercial vessels, that wanted it. Only in the past few months have we had 2 26-foot vessels get on the waiting list. We have 2 others. One is a 33-foot and one is a 42-foot slip. I'd like to make another point regarding this whole big picture. Fishing vessels berthed at these docks are required to provide proof that they are in fact fishing. They do that by producing fish tickets to the harbor that indicate that they fished at least $5,000 during that year. We have 5 other vessels currently at these commercial docks that are fishing vessels that for many years, some recently, some for many years, have produced no fishing tickets. So in effect, that reinforces the fact that demand for commercial fishing is not what it used to be. It's definitely down. One of the complaints indicated that the harbor had agreed to lease all remaining slips to Freedom. That is completely false. Another complaint seemed to indicate that the Coastal Commission would object to the harbor's use and management of this commercial dock area. The Coastal Commission has the opportunity to review the harbor's requirements every time we submit for a new permit. And they're going to look at commercial fishing, they're going to look at transient docks, they're going to look at beach access, parking, they look at everything. We just went through that with JDOC just a few months ago, and every one of these conditions they looked at and didn't object to. The only objection they had actually was to transient docks, because we had, in a few years prior, transferred the Dolphin Dock to a commercial use. Fortunately, we received a grant to add more docks to the Jolly Roger. We're perfectly happy with that explanation, and they had no question regarding how the commercial docks are being leased. We follow the process that has always been put in place. If there's a waiting list, commercial fishing vessels have first shot after Helgren's, but only recently have we had any demand for that. And the fact that we have 5 other vessels there that are not fishing, tell me that demand is just continuing to go down. So those 2 vessels are the next on the list. As soon as the 26 comes available, they're the first ones we'll go to, and they have the option, to be there.
Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate it. And it looks like, I looked this business up. They're very successful. They're all over the place. And it looks like we're going to create additional revenue that we wouldn't create if it was a commercial fishery. But I did hear you say that some of the commercial fishermen are not following the requirements. So if we have 2 applicants that are ready to go, what's the process staff's going to take on getting them to provide proof or moving them out?
So we haven't done that in the past. It's a delicate situation. If the harbor board, directed us to do that, we would do that. I don't think the demand is necessarily there to take that action at this point. We will contact those entities and again ask if they're going to fish again this year. If they're not, we'll ask them to leave But anything other than that would require a termination of a permit, and I would certainly go to the city attorney to make that happen.
Do you have any feedback on that? If we have 2 active applicants that want to fish and we have 5 that don't want to fish?
My office can look at facilitating a termination to move people in who are willing to fish.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Of course, they'd have to, we don't want people, and I'm not accusing the
No.
people on the wait list of wanting to just get in, but some, as I understand, have said that they're going to fish, they get in, and then they end up not fishing, so.
Yeah.
we
And
need
I
to be
understand
consistent.
COVID has probably played a big role in this, but you alluded to for several years. So maybe we could start with the ones that haven't produced proof of fishing for, more than just the last year, So thank you. I fully support this item now that I have those clarifications. So I'd like to move approval.
That's for item number 10. Is there a second? Second. Okay, there's a motion and a second for approval. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're next under general items to begin with item number 17, which is introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 37, Article 5 of the Oceanside City Code, updating the drought response conservation measures. And we have a report by Sarah Davis, Management Analyst, and Carrie Dale, Department Director.
Just a quick introduction, Honorable
Thank you.
Mayor and council members. This is Sarah Davis. She's a management analyst in the Water Utilities Department and providing a great update on an ordinance.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I am presenting today on Oceanside's Drought Response Conservation Ordinance. Staff is recommending that City Council introduce an ordinance that will amend Chapter 37, Article 5 of the City Code. In 2008, with regional input and support, the San Diego County Water Authority developed and adopted a 4-level model drought ordinance and asked all member agencies to adopt their own. In July of 2008, Oceanside City Council adopted a drought ordinance that established drought response and conservation measures in line with the ordinance adopted by the San Diego County Water Authority. The ordinance established drought response and conservation measures to be implemented in the event of a mandatory water reduction. The goal of the regional approach is to ensure that all residents throughout San Diego County have greater understanding of drought restrictions during a time of water use restrictions. In addition, it allows for regional collaboration between agencies to develop cohesive outreach, messaging, and education. The ordinance was last utilized in 2014 during the drought when City Council declared a drought response level 2 on August 6th of 2014. In 2015, Oceanside was mandated by the state to reduce our water use by 20% over the 2013 levels. Due to regional collaboration and part of this regional drought ordinance, outreach and education was extremely effective, and Oceanside residents were able to greatly reduce our water use, and conservation efforts were able to allow us to meet those state mandated requirements. Since the most recent drought, staff has developed water use efficiency best management practices for both residents and businesses to ensure that we are continuing our messaging even in non-drought periods. We actively engage with customers regarding these practices through social media, bill inserts, workshops, and our online WaterSmart customer portal. Some of those messages that you will see in our ordinance include watering between 6 p.m. and 10 a.m., using California native plants, and ensuring that you do not irrigate 48 hours after it rains. Staff also educate the Oceanside community on ways to improve their water use efficiency by showcasing customers their water usage, projected potential savings, and available rebates. We also provide interactive presentations to Oceanside schools that highlights where our water comes from, what a water footprint is, and general water efficiency measures. The San Diego County Water Authority has recently updated their model drought ordinance from 4 levels to 6. This is in part of the requirements established in the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan, which will be coming to City Council in June. Every 5 years, each water purveyor is required to adopt and submit an urban water management plan to the California Department of Water Resources. The 2020 guidelines require that the city have a 6-level drought response plan. The proposed updates to the city ordinance reflect the changes made to the regional drought ordinance. The changes being requested to Chapter 37, Article 5 will enable the city to meet the mandates as set by the 2020 Urban Water Management Plan and establish 6 levels of increasingly higher demand reduction targets and associated water use restrictions. It is important to note that there has been no additional restrictions that have been incorporated from the previous 4 levels, but rather spread out through 6 levels. The regional model drought ordinance has helped Oceanside in the past, ensure that we meet our state mandated cutbacks. So in conclusion, staff is asking that City Council introduce an ordinance amending Chapter 37, Article 5 of the City Code, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
No members of the public.
Okay, thank you. I did see, we do have Councilmember Weiss, and then I do have some questions. Councilmember Weiss.
I was just going to move approval, introduction of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. And is there a second? Okay, there's a second. We've done such a great job of conservation, and then the governor is going to be asking for additional. Are we going to be giving credit for what we've actually done, which has become almost permanent because people actually did a zero-scape, turn their front yards or backyards, whatever, landscaping into zero-scapes, and we've learned how to water, our plants have learned how to take less water. I know mine have. And so how is this going to work? Because right now we're not under that. It's really Northern California that's looking at the very critical situation for drought. How, what is going to be expected from us? Do you know if there is some kind of a drought order from the state?
Thank you, Mayor, for your question. Right now, the governor is requesting that all agencies throughout the state do education, which we are currently doing and have done since the last drought. So we are meeting those requirements. Right now, it is expected, then what we're hearing from the state and our regional wholesalers, that we will not have restrictions or cutbacks this year for the San Diego region. The governor is issuing cutbacks on a regional basis, which was not done in the previous drought. The previous governor issued a cutback for the state of California as a whole. So we are seeing a little bit of difference regionally, and that is due to some of those local projects that we are developing within Oceanside. So Pure Water Oceanside, expanding that recycled water system, the desal plant in Carlsbad, that has helped San Diego region as a whole meet those new requirements.
So we don't expect to get an order from the governor or this legislature since we've been doing such a great job and we have our pure water. And in fact, regionally, we have seen even throughout the county and including the city of San Diego, there has been a drop in water demand, right?
Yeah, so as as the population has increased in San Diego County as a whole, we haven't seen that the demand increase as we expected. We've been relatively flat, and that's due to, like you said, really strong conservation efforts from our public and transitioning into that California native landscaping. So for this year, we don't expect that, but should the drought continue or dry weather continue, we are not sure what the governor will issue moving forward.
Thank you, and I understand City of San Diego, once it has its pure water project in, it'll actually reduce its demand for water to be brought in by 50%, which is pretty fantastic.
That is.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. There's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Mayor, I need to title the ordinance. I'm sorry.
right,
This is the introduction of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside, amending Oceanside City Code Chapter 37 by establishing 6 drought response levels.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Let's go to item number 18, which is approval of a 5-year property use agreement with Oceanside Beach Resort Owner, LLC, for use of city-owned land and storage space located on the Strand South Plaza area for a total revenue of $46,968, and authorization for the city manager to execute the agreement. Report by Vicky Gutierrez, Real Estate Manager.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. Vicky Gutierrez, Real Estate Manager for the Public Works Department. And so the item before you is the property use agreement with Ocean Beach Resort for the use of the premises located on the Strand. I'll get right into that. Staff recommends that the City Council approve this item for a 5-year property use agreement between the City of Oceanside and the Oceanside Beach Resort Owner, LLC, for use of city-owned land and storage space located on the Strand on the South Plaza area for a 5-year total revenue of $46,968, and authorize city manager to execute the agreement upon receipt of all supporting documents. So I'll give you some background on this item. The Oceanside Beach Resort Owner, LLC, is the operating entity for the 2 newly owned or newly constructed Hyatt Beach Resort hotels located on Pacific Street, directly above the Oceanside Strand South Plaza area, currently undergoing renovations, and actually one of the hotels, I believe, opened today. OBR representatives contacted the city in early 2020 to inquire about utilizing the space within the new plaza area in an effort to bring visitor-serving amenities to the Strand area. OBR desires to service the community as well as their hotel patrons who frequent the beach. OBR will provide beach rentals, facilitation of water sports, activities, apparel, food items, and other beach-related items in a travel trailer kiosk. The beach rentals include beach chairs with sunshades, umbrellas, surfboards, beach games, and et cetera, kind of along the like of that. And no full-size cabanas of any kind will be offered for rent, as we are sensitive to blockage of public views, so we have made sure that that's taken care of within the agreement. The proposed terms of the agreement, it's in a 5-year term. They will use the newly created South Plaza area to place the kiosk at the location. And also they use a 237 square foot storage space location that is in the soon-to-be completed city storage building, which is going to be, phase 2 of the plaza. The kiosk will serve as a location for OBR to offer the beach rentals, as I mentioned, sale of food and beverages, retail items, basic sundries to the public, and facilitate the use of water sports activities. The agreement would commence upon approval by council, and it would go through May 31st, 2026. And OBR would pay $800 per month in rent, and included within this rental amount would be $50 that covers water, sewer, and electricity costs for the beach kiosk. There'll be annual rental increases of 3%. And the lease offers 2 5-year extension options at fair market rent for similar businesses. Initially, OBR, I think this is important to point out, will be offering their services from a pop-up canopy and will be located in a temporary location, which I will show you a map in just a few minutes, within the plaza area, which is east of the Strand, until the city completes the phase 2 improvements within the area. And that's estimated to be in December of 2021. At such time, then OBR would relocate to its permanent beach kiosk location, which is directly west of the new constructed restrooms and storage building that is, again, under construction. And the storage space will also become available for occupancy by OBR at that time. So, and then the initial OBR rent that we're proposing is $300 per month until such time as the city completes those phase 2 improvements and they can have access to the permanent kiosk location and to the storage space. OBR expressed a need to have water and sewer brought to the location for the beach kiosk, and that would be to the permanent location as part of the plaza construction project. So we've included within the terms of the agreement that we will be making some design and utilities, bringing the utility services. We had to do some design changes, architecture changes, all of which OBR will be reimbursing the city for those costs. They're estimated to be $15,580, but they're not to exceed $20,000. And we believe there's well of a cushion within those numbers, but and that is all within the terms of the agreement, the reimbursement by them. So here, this is kind of a little bit hard to see, but this is the beach area. And if you kind of center to the center of the diagram, that's the steps that come down. Excuse me, I got it in front of the microphone. That's the steps that come down from Pacific Avenue. So on the left side of your diagram, come to the front, that is the temporary location that they'll initially be. It's right adjacent to the amphitheater. If you focus to the right of that diagram, that will be the future location. And right smack in the middle is the new maintenance building, and right in there in the front is a 237 square foot storage location. So that just gives you kind of a visual of where they'll be. And again, that's on the east side of the Strand area. And this just shows you, again, this is a diagram of their permanent future location. And behind that, again, is the restrooms, and behind that is the maintenance building. So I just want to kind of give you a visual of how they'll be located. The OBR guests will, again, be providing its services to the community as well as hotel guests. The public beach area is restricted pursuant to 3 grants, deeds that are filed with the San Diego County Recorder's Office and are a matter of public record. OBR is aware of these beach deed restrictions. They are referenced in their agreement, and they are familiar with them, and they impact the premises and the services that they will offer, and will operate in compliance with those restrictions. And that is part of the agreement and referenced in the agreement. So staff recommends that City Council approve the 5-year property use agreement between the City of Oceanside and Oceanside Beach Resort Owner LLC for the city-owned land and storage space located at the Strands Plaza for a 5-year revenue of $46,968, and authorize the city manager to execute the agreement upon receipt of all supporting documents. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. I understand we have 3 requests to speak by Zoom.
By Zoom, and we do have one in person.
Okay, thank you.
Our first public comment is from Carolyn Kramer, to be followed by Sherry Mackin, to be followed by Colleen Bulge. And we're getting Ms. Kramer on the line. And you need to unmute, Carolyn. Carolyn, if you can unmute.
I
Oh,
trying.
gotcha.
Got me? Okay. Thank you, Zeb. Good evening, Mayor and Council. If I may, please ask for a few clarifications on this new gateway to the 2 new hotels on Pacific Street overlooking our beachfront. First off, when will the city start to see TOT from these 2 new hotels? I thought it was 15 years, but I think that may have changed once the city sold the land instead of leasing land to the developer. This was a gift to the developer. Second, the staff report states that Oceanside Beach Resort will pay initial rent of $9,600 per year, which equals $800 per month. The report also said that included within this total rental amount is $50 per month to cover water, sewer, and electricity costs for the beach kiosk. So does this mean the rent is now $750 per month that the city will get? The report also says that the plaza area improvements is estimated to be complete by December 2021, this year. So this is the part that really irritates me. The hotel developer will only pay $300 a month until the improvements are completed in December. So does that really mean he pays $250 per month so they can get their water, sewer, and electricity free? And of course, they will get this cheap rent during the summer high season for the beach users. Ka-ching, ka-ching. This is wrong. And then here comes another freebie. Once the improvements are complete and the kiosk can move to its, quote, permanent home, they will get to have storage space in the new building on the Strand, which is included in the rent of $800 per month, less $50 per month. To me, that equates to meaning it is free storage space. The developer seems to need water and sewer services brought to the beach kiosk, and the city is going to have this done, and the developer will reimburse the city. So my question is, who will own this kiosk and associated utility services, since this is a permanent structure on public parkland? Glad to see that the hotel developer is aware of the beach deed restrictions in place that impact the use of the premises and the services that they will offer, because we will be watching. This is a bad deal for our city, and this should be rejected. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Sherry Mackin, to be followed by Colleen Balch, to be followed by Dan Matlock. And Ms. Mackin, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Dr. Navarro. Sherry Mackin here, Oceanside resident. I concur with Ms. Kramer's comments 100%. Again, I think the real kick is the $300 rent. It's kind of a giveaway there. Think about it. Regardless of lack of storage, just because they will have a captive audience, exclusive rights on the rentals in a prime location, and therefore they should pay accordingly. I also was wondering, the rent seems exceptionally low for what they are getting, and the potential for significant revenue generation should be tied to escalating rent or profit share. I am not sure if the city has seen a pro forma or other financial projection, but if this use is particularly successful, the city should benefit more financially, and really, why not? I ask you to take the contract back and renegotiate a better deal for us. Now is the time to get it right, as I'd hate to see us merely rubber stamp this deal again 5 years from now. We can really use that revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next public comment is from Colleen Balch, to be followed by Dan Matlock in person. And we do have Mr. Jeremy Cohen on Zoom if he wishes to respond after the public comment. Colleen, whenever you're ready.
Hi there, Colleen Balch, and thank you, Council and Madam Mayor, for listening. I'm going to just piggyback on what the two ladies ahead of me have said, but I also would like to ask another question. How many other kiosks that are down on the beach area do we provide utilities to? And I hope you'll answer this tonight, because if you don't provide utilities to anybody else, why are we making an exception now? That's making a permanent structure on our parkland that hasn't been discussed with anybody locally. It's something staff and others have decided. So when you think about all those things, I hope you will think about that. Also, the storage area. It appears to be inside a building that it will be used by city employees and not have an exterior door, which means they get to come inside a building that appears to be run, used by us, our employees, and then go to their storage area. If that's the case, that's also a bad deal. They should not have access to anything except direct access to their storage area, which I don't believe should be there in the first place. They just built a hotel. They should have built their storage up there and use it up there and figure out a way to bring their commodities down. Other thing is, who's going to clean all those beach chairs, umbrellas, whatever else that they're going to lend and store in that area, so that they're not bringing a bunch of sand and wet items in to store and just cause mildew issues and things inside the building. I know these are other options that seem kind of minute, but they're big to the people that have to deal with it, that end up being our city employees and not hotel employees. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final public comment is from Dan Matlock, and he is here in person.
Good evening. Good evening again, Council. Dan Matlock, South Oceanside, and an advocate for Save Our Sand and Save Our City. I must say, I must applaud the city for this contract in helping the beachfront resort owners in launching these hotels. It took us 20 years to get here, and this is no small task. But I'm going to address something that's even more relevant. I'm here to ask, what if there's no sand on the Oceanside beaches in the future to ensure the success of Oceanside beach resort owners? What if there's no sand on the beach for the beach experience normally enjoyed by the public at large? What are the contingencies in place for the consequences of a what if? Because of Brown Act rules in place, I am, and the public at large, is eager to hear constructive-driven dialogue among the council about this issue starting tonight. The property use agreement before you tonight addresses in 8 sections a number of what-ifs, except for the lack of sand on our beaches. Overall, in the scheme of things, this agreement is minuscule in terms of dollars for the city and hotel owners in comparison to the $1 billion now invested in the downtown area and now possibly at risk because of the lack of sand. The basic question of lack of sand on our oceanside beaches and remedy to restore sand will notably have to be addressed in the near future, and SOS, Save Our Sand, is here to support your efforts in that endeavor. Thank you for your time.
And that concludes the public comment, and we do have Jeremy Cohen on Zoom.
Thank you, and go to staff first. Did you want to respond to any of the comments?
Absolutely. I'll defer to Mr. Mullen for the
Yeah,
first
well,
one.
I'll respond to the TOT question, which was the initial question, and I think the questions about rent and utilities, Vicky can respond to. The question was asked, when will the city see TOT on these 2 hotels? TOT is generated based on the average, the room charge, so we'll start seeing it initially, but we entered into an agreement that replaced the former development agreement that we had. As the council knows, we had a development agreement with this developer many, many years ago, which contemplated the issuance of tax allocation bonds in the amount of $27.6 million. After redevelopment was eliminated, we had to negotiate a new agreement, and we did that by replacing that subsidy with a much smaller subsidy, which was the transient occupancy tax sharing. And so we basically start receiving TOT in year 3 of this agreement. The first 3 years, they're recovering that tax. That's replacement of the subsidy, but I believe the net present value of that was only about $9 million, give or take. So it's a much smaller subsidy. We would have been receiving it a lot sooner, but there was frivolous litigation filed to challenge the approval of that agreement, if you may recall, and that held up the project for about 2 years. After we won at the trial court and then won on appeal, then the project was able to proceed.
All right.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Gutierrez? That
Yes, I'd like to add a few items. There were quite a few comments, so I'm going to do my best to cover those that are mostly highlighted. And I'm going to go and kind of go in order as they were, but I'm not going to restate the people's names that said it. So relative to the rent is $800 per month when they get into their permanent location. That includes $50 in that rent. It's built into the rent. So the city will receive $800. There is no free rent. Basically, there's no seasonality function built into this rent. OBR pays $800 during the permanent location month after month, whether it's a seasonal period or not, which is unlike a lot of our other kiosks. Some of the other kiosks aren't built out like that. So we will continue to receive revenue. That is not a permanent structure that is coming in by OBR. They're bringing in a travel like trailer kiosk. And so basically they are leasing from the city a storage unit and a ground premises. So they will come in and hook up. It'll stay there permanent, but it's not owned by the city. So they're responsible for maintaining their trailer usage, much like the other kiosks that are down there. They maintain their own unit and it doesn't belong to the city. As it relates to, I don't miss anything on that. So I think that addresses that first comment. The $300 for the temporary location, they are not receiving use of the storage unit. They are basically in a less desirable location, abutted up against the the amphitheater. They will use a pop-up tent. They will have no utilities at the location. They may bring in a generator that will be on them. Basically, there will be no water and sewer at that temporary location. That will only be at the permanent location. And again, if they need utilities, it's going to be electrical brought in by them through a generator. So that is $300 during that interim period because they aren't getting full use of the premises that are their premises. Staff did evaluate the rent. It is on a flat amount versus a revenue share. Initially, we basically looked at that. We don't think there will be significant revenue generated by this kiosk, but we have, they'll be paying it month after month, and we have, after the 5-year term, we have the ability to revisit the rent. I've built that into the lease whereby if the city evaluates, we have the opportunity to look at their financials for the kiosk revenue generated. We have an opportunity to look at that and evaluate it. If it makes more sense for us to do a revenue share at that time to see how they're functioning, we will implement that. So staff will be evaluating that at the renewal period. Let's see. Another thing that was brought up is the location in the storage unit. The storage unit is a separate area. They're not commingled with other city locations. They're built out, so they'll have their own area. They're not commingled with city staff. As far as utilities that we're bringing in, the ability for us to do that is because we're doing development for the phase 2. So the timing for them is perfect. It is of no harm to the city. We're facilitating it. It's going to be basically, this is a little technical, but we'll put a pool box in at a location determined by the city, adjacent probably within a planter. So it will not be visible. It will be permanent. So if OBR is not there in the future, we can use it for another tenant or a city use. So those utilities are basically for the city. And again, there's no permanent structure going to be there. And I think that covered all the items that were brought up, unless somebody else has any additional questions.
Thank you. And did we get any indication whether Mr. Jeremy Cohen would like to address the council? Did he raise his hand or anything?
I did, and thank you, Mayor.
Hey, Jeremy.
And council people. It's been a long time since I've seen all of you, and I look forward to seeing you in person and welcoming you to the hotels. And we did open Mission Pacific today, and it's been a long way to get here. And thank you all for your support over the time period. I do think the concession we're paying. We bought an antique classic 1941 trailer that we are renovating to make into the kiosk, and I think it'll be something that people will be proud to see down on the Strand. As I think that Vicki mentioned, it will be open to the public, but it really is something that we feel that if we're going to do the best we can, both for us and for the city, which shares in the TOT, the ability to have access to some of these beach services, which are not currently provided, is really something that guests are hoping for and will be disappointed without. And I think for the public also, with the fact that there aren't as many parking lots directly on the beach, it will be very nice to be able to not have to drag all your stuff down. If you can't find a spot in Betty's lot, there's certainly the opportunities for the public. So we are making a significant investment in the kiosk itself. It isn't a permanent city undertaking. The utilities belong to you when we leave, even though we've paid to create them. And I think this is a service that will benefit not only the hotel guests in the city through the extra TOT, but the public when they come down. And the hotel, I think you've seen that. I hope that you've seen that we've built quality. We've built something that's interesting and not cookie cutter. And we hope that the kiosk, like the hotels, will be a credit to the city for many years to come. and we intend to be good citizens. And we know that Carolyn and Shari will remind us if they see any instance where we are not.
Okay, thank you. That means you will have your ears open then, right, Jeremy?
Wide open,
Okay,
wide open. We understand the issues, and we understand, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that we police it well and make sure that it works for everyone.
Thank you. No other public comments. We don't have any lights up yet. I will say this. My concerns, and this is because, homegirl, family, deep roots. And so for me, it's like, it's a hangout for the locals as well. And we have actually, it's been over 30 years that we've been talking and planning for a beach resort, which, by the way, was the one thing that really kicked off our economic development downtown. I mean, it was when this community finally got together in a kumbaya saying, okay, we're going to agree to this. It was right after Manchester, now, what was it, 12 to 15 stories it was going to be, and there was going to be shading, and, it felt like it was going to privatize the beach, bulldoze the bluffs, whatever. So this is what we all agreed to. And I know that time has changed some memories about, what happened back then. My concerns are, as a local, which I know I'm going to be able to talk to Jeremy about, is this whole notion that we have a local coastal plan that talks about public access, right? So access for all. And then the deed restrictions that basically say no commercial activity on the sand. I mean, those are the two basic things that, that I'm concerned about. I'm not as concerned about the contract and, the use, because we do have other vendors. And so they're basically, what I see is that they're in the same situation. My concern is to make sure that it doesn't feel like it's being privatized, that it's affordable to guests, it might be part of the attraction. Hey, you get to do this as well, get out on the beach, as part of the cost of getting a room there. I mean, I can just imagine all the kind of things that they're going to say, hey, look, this is a great place to come. We want people to come to Oceanside, right? But those are my concerns, is ensuring that it doesn't feel like we're commercializing the beach, the sandy beach, that, like we're not reserving sand, which I think we know it's going to take a while for us to come up with a plan to bring even more sand on our beach. This is one part of the beach that usually gets extra sand, this part. It's down south that actually gets starved a lot. And so those are my concerns. If Shelley Carone Hayes was here today, she would be saying, hey, deed restrictions. We want to try to keep this for the public, whoever you are, wherever you come from, be either being a local or driving over from Riverside or wherever. And I do feel that we have a good partner, and that these are the concerns, that are going to come out, during the really popular time in the summer. I mean, there's no room. I mean, you can't even walk around in the sand. It's really, everybody's right up to each other, right, on the beach towels and getting in and out. By the way, when there are special events, that won't have an effect on that, like, say, graduation or Samoan cultural celebration or anything like that. All the vendors will be, it seems like everything's been able to handle our special events.
Yeah.
I see nodding, so you're saying yes.
Honorable Mayor, yes.
Okay.
They're basically out of the area of where like a special event would pretty much be, as most of the special events would be in the amphitheater area or in front of the community center. So no, they wouldn't have any bearing on that. And they aren't allowed to preset any of their chairs or anything. That's why we're not allowing a large cabana. We just do chairs, shade structures, so we're very much in tune with that, and they are willing and have a process. They're developing a process so that if a guest rents a chair and they would like assistance to take that chair out to the beach, they'll be accompanied by the guest. So again, No one will take something and just leave it and set it up. They know they can't preserve anything. So we are very in tune with not allowing privatization of the beach.
Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Councilmember Weiss, finally a light.
So as I look at the agreement, the kiosk is similar to the other Main Street vending kiosk, and it's on the east side of the Strand. It's not on the beach, it's not on the sand.
Yes, sir.
Move approval, staff recommendation.
There's a motion, there's a second. Any other comments? Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. And next we have our public hearing items that were time certain for 6 o'clock, just a little bit after that time. So we're going to call item number 19, which is adoption of resolutions confirming the diagrams and assessments for each of the following landscape maintenance districts for fiscal year 2021 to 2022, and ordering the assessments to be levied for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members and also constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff reports.
Staff.
Staff.
Okay. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence or petitions?
The city clerk's office did not receive any correspondence or petition on this item.
Okay, thank you. So we begin testimony with Ms. Gutierrez, real estate manager, who has not moved an inch.
That's right. Get more of me. Honorable Mayor, council members, Vicki Gutierrez, Public Works Department. So the item before you, we're asking council to approve the item before you for the 11 city landscape maintenance districts. The city landscape maintenance districts were formed in 1991 pursuant to the authority granted by the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972 of the California Streets and Highway Codes, and each year you're required to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed assessments to be levied within the districts. The assessments will remain the same for the fiscal year 2021-22 as they were last fiscal year for all districts within the staff report, except for Douglas Park, Guajome Ridge, Rancho Hermosa, and Vista del Rio districts, which those districts have CPI adjustments of 1.7%. The proposed assessments identified within the engineer's parts will be used to pay the costs associated with each of the 11 districts and for fiscal year 2021-22, and that covers operation, maintenance, material costs associated with each district. That concludes my presentation. Staff recommends council to approve the item before you for these 11 Oceanside landscape maintenance districts for fiscal year 2021-22, ordering the assessments to be levied for fiscal year 21-22 for the districts. Excuse me.
Thank you. Do we this is a public hearing. You do not have to sign up before to request to speak. You can go ahead and come up to the podium. If you do wish to speak on this, you can speak for up to 3 minutes. I see no one advancing to the podium, and I understand that there are no requests to speak by Zoom.
That is correct.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing and see if we have a motion. Okay, there's a motion to approve. Okay, it's actually adopt the resolutions. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Now we go to item number 20. Again, Ms. Gutierrez has not moved an inch. This is adoption of a resolution approving the engineer's report, confirming the diagram and assessments, and ordering the assessments to be levied for fiscal year 2021 to 2022 for the Oceanside Lighting District, Assessment District number 2-1991. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosure from the council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence.
Staff.
Staff. Okay, thank you. Mr. Navarro, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
The city clerk's office has not received any correspondence on this item.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start testimony with Ms. Gutierrez, real estate manager.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and council members. Staff is recommending council to approve the item before you for the Oceanside Lighting District Assessment District 2-1990-91. The Oceanside Lighting District was again formed in 1991 pursuant to the authority granted by the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972 of the California Streets and Highway Codes. And each year, again, we're required to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed assessments to be levied against these districts. Since formation of the lighting district in 1991, the district assessments being levied have remained the same. Our largest component of the overall expenditures within this district is the electric consumption. The total assessments to be levied by the lighting district for fiscal year 21-22 will be $1,658,146. That concludes my presentation. Staff recommends council to approve the item before you, Oceanside Lighting District Assessment Districts 2-1991, confirming the assessments for 2021-22, ordering the assessments to be levied for said fiscal year, and approving the engineer's report. I'm now available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And this is a public hearing. Councilmember Weiss, did you have a question before? Okay, this is a public hearing. You do not have to sign up before to wish to speak. You can come up to the podium and speak for up to 3 minutes. I see no one advancing to the podium, and we have no request to speak by Zoom. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. And I see Councilmember Weiss.
Move adoption.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and you understand who it was, right? Okay, great. Let's vote.
Let's do that one more time. I was quick on the draw on that one. Sorry about that.
Not easy.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, I've had a request to go to item number 23. This is a request by council members Rodriguez and Jensen to oppose Congressional Bill HR 127 and direction to staff to compose and mail an opposition letter to Congressman Mike Levin's office. Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes, thank you very much. We have a council policy here in the city of Oceanside, 100-16, which is an adoption of annual guidelines for the city manager's office to pursue both on a local, state, and federal level. It's our legislative platform. Unfortunately, our legislative platform does not delve into the majority of constitutional items. It's just an assumption that those are fixed and those will not be violated or affected. And so I brought forth this item because it will greatly impact the constituents we represent. We were elected to represent in the city of Oceanside. A recent UC Davis study showed that 25% of households in the state of California own weapons, rifles, handguns. And in a city like Oceanside, where it's a large military presence, you're talking to close to 30 to 40,000 Oceanside residents that are gun owners, responsible gun owners that want to protect their families, that want to go to iron sights, that want to go hunting and want to do everything that their constitutional rights protect. And this bill, HR 127, seeks to do many things that will violate Oceanside residents' rights. Some of those include the requirement of an annual insurance policy if you own weapons. That is estimated to cost in excess of $800. So that will greatly affect not only our large senior population, but also our communities of color and lower income families. Some of the other items that this produces is it greatly violates privacy. Gun owners will have to register their weapons on a new platform, and that platform it can be accessed publicly. So we're looking at the public knowing who owns weapons, who doesn't. There's also the requirement of a psychological evaluation that is overseen by the state attorney. And so there's a lot of variables of concern to include in interviewing and a psychological evaluation of not only the individual, but also members of the individual's family. I'm trying to summarize several items. I did provide an overview of a letter that covers all of these important items that I would like to send a message to our representative in Congress, Mike Levin, that Oceanside supports the Second Amendment, and we do not support violating our residents' rights with respect to that. And I would like to hear public comment and my colleagues, and I'd like to make a motion to approve this item.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. We do have 2 requests to speak by Zoom, and then do we have anyone else from
Yes, we do. We have 3 speakers on this item.
Okay.
2 are on Zoom. And again, if you're on Zoom, you need to have registered by the deadline to speak. And we do have 1 individual here today that wishes to speak as well. Our first public comment is from Roger Davenport, to be followed by Ellen Bartlett, to be followed by Michael Schwartz, who is here in person. And Mr. Davenport, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. Roger Davenport, 541 Crouch Street. Although we all know how much Mr. Rodriguez likes to grandstand and see his name on city letterhead, this request should be denied. There's nothing in or about HR 127 that affects or has anything to do with the administration of the city of Oceanside. Therefore, it's inappropriate and unacceptable for the city of Oceanside to take an official position on this matter. If Mr. Rodriguez and Ms. Jensen want to oppose gun control or advocate the conservative party line of thoughts and prayers to solve the problem of mass shootings in the U.S., that's their personal concern. They should write personal letters to their representatives, but they should not propose or purport to represent the residents of Oceanside in this. Multiple studies and polls over many years have shown that an overwhelming majority of people across the U.S. favor stricter gun laws. For example, an August 2019 Fox News poll of registered voters found 90% of respondents favored universal background checks, 81% supported taking guns from at-risk individuals, and 67% favored banning assault weapons. So it's almost certain that most of the residents of Oceanside, not just I, do not agree with the sentiments of these council members. Therefore, Mayor and Council, I call on you to do the right thing, deny this request, and send it to where it belongs, the trash. Finally, I would remind Mr. Rodriguez that he was elected to help run our city, not as a stepping stone to further his ambitions or a platform to promote his personal opinions. I hope campaigning for House District 49 won't be a distraction from his elected duties. I would also remind the people of Oceanside that none of us in District 1 had any part in Ms. Jensen's selection, and she does not represent the people or the spirit of our district. Ms. Jensen, if you have a shred of integrity, I call on you to withdraw this ridiculous proposal. That's all.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Ellen Bartlett, to be followed by Michael Schwartz. And Mrs. Bartlett, you're on. And I think you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, no.
There you go. Now we can hear you.
Very good?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good evening, council members and Mayor Sanchez. Council members Rodriguez and Jensen are opposed to Congressional Bill HR 127 and are making a request to direct our city staff to compose and mail an opposition letter to Congressman Mike Levin's office. This bill does not come under the purview of the Oceanside City Council. And that being said, I am one of many who are tired of senseless and continued gun violence across this country. This bill will establish a process for licensing and registration of firearms. We license and register our cars. We have a driver's license. I don't understand why it's so difficult to go from there to gun registration. This bill also prohibits certain types of ammunition like armor-piercing bullets and large capacity ammunition feeding devices, which I think is just as important. I'm hoping the other 3 council members will provide some sanity on this issue and oppose the request for this letter. This does not represent what the city council is supposed to be doing. If people are responsible gun owners, I don't understand why they would oppose having gun registration. And I just hope that our city the other 3 members of our city council oppose this letter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Michael Schwartz, who is here in person.
Hi, my name is Michael Schwartz. I work for San Diego County Gun Owners. We are a political organization that focuses on Second Amendment issues, specifically at the local level, like city councils. And I'm here to ask you to please approve the writing of the letter in opposition of HR 127. HR 127 is the most extreme anti-gun bill I've ever seen in my life. In no way can it be considered constitutionally sound. Yes, it requires licensing, which in and of itself sounds pretty basic and not a big threat. But in order to get that license to own a firearm, you have to go through a psychological evaluation by a government doctor. They'll question your friends and family, including ex-spouses. There's nothing reasonable about this at all. There's absolutely nothing reasonable about this. This will fundamentally change gun ownership in the United States. It is absolutely an affront to the Second Amendment and everything the Second Amendment protects. It outlaws some of the most popular firearms that people use for sport, hunting, and self-defense, and it turns people into felons for owning normal magazines, normal capacity magazines that people use throughout the country. A lot of the pieces of this legislation, proposed legislation, already exist in California and have proven to truly be failures. And one of the most important ways they've proven to be failures is that they are disproportionately used against people of color. There are people of color who are spending extreme sentences in jail because of gun laws that don't exist anywhere else in this country and are again, disproportionately used against people of color to destroy their lives, to destroy their communities. That's an important factor. Mayor, you and I spoke a couple years ago about the Second Amendment, and in your office you said that, hey, this is a constitutional issue. So I'm hoping that you'll keep your word on this and provide some leadership and say, yeah, this goes way too far. HR 127 goes way too far. We're not just talking about common sense gun laws here anymore. We're talking about extremism. We're talking about something that is so far outside of the realm, even if it does pass, even if it does get into the, voted and signed by the president, it's going to be battled in court because it's so far outside of the mainstream. It's so far outside of what the Second Amendment intended. So I appreciate you very much letting me speak, and please vote to honor honor the letter against HR 127. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that concludes the public comment.
Thank you. Councilmember Jensen.
So in reading HR 127, the thing that concerned me the most is the mental health evaluation. In reading this, I believe based on the psychological evaluation portion, at one point or another, every person's medical record will most likely contain exclusionary criteria that could prevent them from owning a firearm and deny them their Second Amendment rights. The psychological evaluation. The psychological evaluation is conducted in accordance with this paragraph. The evaluation is conducted in compliance with such standards as shall be established by the Attorney General. The evaluation is conducted by a licensed psychologist approved by the Attorney General, not independent. As deemed necessary by the licensed psychologist involved, the evaluation included a psychological evaluation of other members of the household in which the individual resides. And as part of the psychological evaluation, the licensed psychologist interviewed any spouse of the individual, any former spouse of the individual, and at least two other persons are members of the family or an associate of the individual to further determine the state of the mental, emotional, and relational stability of the individual in relation to firearms. Denial of license required. The individual has been hospitalized. So HIPAA does not protect us from the federal government accessing our electronic medical records. With mental illness, disturbance, or diagnosis including depression, homicidal ideation, suicidal ideation, attempted suicide, or addiction to a controlled substance or alcohol. This will prevent people from seeking treatment for mental health issues. If they think their Second Amendment rights will be taken away from them, they are not going to seek treatment. I think this is a dangerous step to take. I think it's a slippery slope, and I think that it's very troubling that this language would be in here. And I believe that HR 127 is ripe for abuse and should be opposed. And I support the letter of opposition.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Keim.
So I want to address a couple things tonight. I think we can all stipulate to the fact that we have an epidemic outside of COVID with violence and homicides. Just our major American cities saw over a 30% increase in homicides from this time last year. So I think it's incumbent upon us to address this. I know in Oceanside we're having our challenges. I'd actually like to ask the police chief to come down in a second just to kind of give us some context here. But I think this is probably the least effective and most burdensome bill to address that you could ever write. It doesn't, this is what this will do, and I can tell you from an officer's perspective. This will burden the Department of Justice and ATF with tracking down legal and safe gun owners that maybe have had a gun 60, 70 years and spend their time filling out paperwork and putting them into a system, all the while we have illegal guns throughout the country that are being used in homicides every day. And I think our law enforcement resources could be used in much better ways. And in that reason, I think this bill is an absolute disaster. You know, I know we've gone over a couple other issues with it, but we need to address gun violence. But it's not with extra paperwork. It's not with creating extra bureaucracy. And I just don't see this will have any meaningful impact. I mean, we had, if we want to bring it to San Diego, we had the mass shooting in the gas lamp in April, where unfortunately it was a random shooting. 5 people were shot, 1 killed, 4 wounded. So that gun was an unregistered ghost gun. So that was against California law. He couldn't possess that gun legally, yet he did, and he shot 5 people. So this bill is not going to address those issues. And I think we can have a conversation about what will, but I mean, in Oceanside, do we have that same problem with unregistered weapons in the city? Have we recovered any substantial amounts?
Deputy
Chief.
Mayor Keim, and Mayor and council members, in our city in 2020, we had 108 violent crimes involving firearms. Not a single one of those firearms was registered to the suspect. Our problem is that gun violence in our city is committed by people who don't participate in lawfully registering their firearm. They steal it, they engage in acquisition of ghost guns, or they acquire it through other means, but the folks involved, they're not law-abiding citizens, generally speaking, anyway. And so this particular effort, I don't believe, especially with the facts in our city, is going to have an impact on violent crime.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. I think it's important to realize that that's in our city here. And just anecdotally, I spent much of my career working with gangs in the city, and with the weapons I recovered, not one was registered to that individual. So that's a challenge with this bill, and I think it's just going to, as I said earlier, burden the Department of Justice, the ATF, and it's an absolute disaster. So that's the first subject. My second one is I want to address our legislative policy, and does this fit in it? Ms. Lorson, could you provide some clarity?
Deputy Mayor, Mayor, and council members. As Councilmember Rodriguez mentioned, the City Council does have an adopted legislative platform. However, it is the intent of our platform that the city will not address matters that are not pertinent to the city's local government services, such as international issues. Therefore, items such as this are not addressed in our platform.
So my concern is this is a slippery slope if we don't follow our policy, because very easily we could have written a letter in support of this. What would be an appropriate way that we could address a letter concerning this bill that's not violating our city policy?
Deputy Mayor, of course, staff will respect whatever the desires of the majority are, but I would suggest that anyone is free to write letters on their own to our legislators and others about matters of concern and their position on this bill. Thank you.
And I'd be happy to partner on a bill, sign this, but I'd like to follow our legislative policy on this.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Our council policy, as clearly written, 100-16, says that we adopt an annual policy or on an as-needed basis. And this is definitely an as-needed basis in representing the city of Oceanside and our constituents. If you support the Second Amendment, if you support Oceanside responsible legal gun owners, then we need to send a message. And we have a motion and a second on this item. And I encourage everyone on this dais that does support those causes to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to say a few words, and then I do have a light for Deputy Mayor Keim. I don't really see this as being within our purview, but I see how important it is to a couple of our council members on the dais. I did have an opportunity to inquire about the status because apparently this was drafted and got a number back in January, early January, and there has been no co-sponsor since then. It's pretty much dead. It's not, probably has a very slim chance of even getting to the floor. And as you know, once something goes to the floor, things can change like with 180 degrees, right? I do think this goes too far. I wouldn't even have seen it, but for the fact that Councilmember Rodriguez and Councilmember Jensen feel very strongly about the Second Amendment. There's nobody here on the dais that believes that supports gun violence. Obviously, we're all here in support of a quality of life for our community, and that every single person should be able to walk down any street in our city safely. And that is, our goal. I know each person here on the dais and also in the city and in city management, and I know that we are all committed to ensuring the public health and safety of our community. So having said that, I do know I do feel that this, on the one hand, this is not within our purview, but I do see a couple of council members who feel very strongly about it. There is a first, there is a motion, there is a second, and, I'm fine with supporting that, but I would encourage us to basically, there's so many issues here in Oceanside that we, focus on those. 101 acts of violence where a gun was used. Chief?
108, Mayor.
108.
In 2020.
2020. Let's make that 0, right? That's our goal. So Deputy Mayor Keim and then Councilmember Weiss.
So again, I want to echo the sentiments that this bill is most likely not going to pass. It's stuck in committee. It doesn't have a co-sponsor, as it should be. So I am concerned, though, that we do take valuable time out of city business to campaign, and it seems like it's a 24/7 job. And I'll support this. I'd like to hear also from the mayor. Maybe if we support writing a letter or changing our council policy, this is an important issue. But
I'm just seeing this as an exception right now. I think we've had clarification, and for me, this is not going anywhere. But if we want to make it clear to, and we did get 3 emails on this, to our community that we do support the Second Amendment, we can do that tonight. But I would like to, there's so many things that are going on in Oceanside, including we're going to be getting $32.3 million COVID recovery. How can we use that to make things better for our community? How can we spend it all with all of the requirements it's going to have? So for this one item, some of us will vote yes, some of us will vote no, or maybe abstain. But I would ask that as we go forward, I would encourage us to focus on, the things that we can do here in Oceanside. But certainly, constitutional rights are very important to each and every one of us. Councilmember Weiss? I'm sorry, did I cut you off, Deputy Mayor? Okay, Councilmember Weiss?
I just have a few comments. It's interesting, and I support a letter in some regard. Mr. Davenport made a comment that this is outside the purview of the administration of the city. Well, recently the mayor sent a letter off opposing offshore oil, which I support because several years ago I sent a similar letter. If an item or bill or an issue is consistent with the city's legislative platform, either the mayor or staff prepares a letter, the mayor signs it and sends it off, we get a copy of it. This clearly, as a city manager, is not really within that legislative platform. I do support sending some type of a letter. I guess my question to the council is this going to be a letter all 5 of us sign, or is it going to be a letter, you have a copy of it here, that the mayor is going to sign and on behalf of the city like we would in our legislative platform? But what I also don't want to do is get into a situation that every time something unique comes up, there are going to be bills, I can tell you right now, that the state level that I oppose. I don't want to be sitting here every time I get, an issue and say, let's do another letter if it's outside the city's legislative platform. So I guess my question is this letter going to be signed by the mayor on behalf of all of us, or are we all 5 going to sign a letter and do something unique?
I can speak, Mayor.
Councilmember Rodriguez, my apologies.
I say that, and I agree with you. I don't want to be here every council meeting writing letters on everything. I think this is a unique circumstance. I concur with the mayor on that. I think we move on this, and whoever votes yes signs it. Whoever votes no doesn't sign it, and we move on.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. There's no other lights. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. And we are now on item number 22, as we don't have anything under item 21, which is advance written request. So we do have item number 22, and we do have several requests by Zoom.
That is correct.
11?
We
Possibly? 10 and 1 in person?
Correct. We have additional one, and then I believe somebody did pull out their card as well.
Thank you.
Our first public comment is from Barbara Gordon, to be followed by Joe Hill. And Joe, I did get your message just now, to be followed by Roger Davenport, to be followed by Dirk Akima. And so we'll go with Mrs. Gordon, whenever you're ready. And if you can, Mrs. Gordon, can you unmute yourself? We're going to ask you to unmute yourself one more time.
Hey, there you go. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate this opportunity to speak. Again, my name is Barbara Gordon, and I'm here today to share some information as the city expands the number of marijuana businesses. I am recommending the city watch an important San Diego County virtual news conference tomorrow, Thursday, from 10 to 11, titled Doctor's Warning, Cannabis Can Cause Serious Health Hazards. San Diego County Marijuana Initiative will be introducing this group, ISIC. It's the International Academy on the Science and Impact of Cannabis. The group of 4 medical doctors will be discussing the current cannabis-related trends in emergency and other medical settings and make available reliable, peer-reviewed medical resources on the short and long-term consequences of cannabis use. This International Academy on Science and Impact of Cannabis is a medical organization of doctors who educate on marijuana based on the scientific and medical literature. It's a nonpartisan, non-political group created to facilitate informed decisions when considering cannabis policies and law. The news conference will be based on the review of scientific evidence and concluded that the public health effects of high-potency cannabis are harmful. These growing negative impacts further strain healthcare and addiction treatment resources to the extent that far surpass any taxation revenue. This is an evidence-based information provided at this news conference should be thought-provoking to all cities and staff and should give everyone more information as they move forward with any marijuana policies. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next public comment was going to be from Joe Hill, but we don't see him in the room. So we'll move on to our next public comment, which is from Roger Davenport, to be followed by Dirk Acema, to be followed by Robert Walker. Mr. Davenport, whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, it's me again. I wanted to say I'm a District 1 resident since 2008 at 541 Crouch Street. And I wanted to speak to those listening and watching about Ms. Jensen and a few of the reasons for our recall effort. Let me summarize. She wasn't an Oceansider when she applied, which should have disqualified her immediately. There are many proofs of this. She was a complete unknown in the community with no qualifications or relevant experience to speak of. The residents of District 1 were given no chance to vote for their representative. She was clearly selected by a city council majority only interested in increasing its power. She isn't really very fiscally responsible. Apparently, she was going through a bankruptcy last year, and she owes over $50,000 in back rent or back taxes on the house that she has here in Oceanside. How can she manage the city's money? And she's been voting against the interests and values of District 1's residents. We saw that when she voted to close the Brook Street pool, and we've seen it again tonight when she chose to vote in favor of a stupid letter to protest a bill that hasn't even come to the floor of the House. And I've got to say, Mr. Weiss, I don't think that protesting offshore drilling, which they could do 5 miles off our shore, is the same as protesting a obscure Second Amendment argument about some bill that probably never is going to happen. I think that was a really bad vote just now. And I think going back to Corey, though, we want someone who will represent our interests and share our values. She's shown that she doesn't. If you live in District 1, please help us recall Ms. Jensen by finding a Let Oceanside Vote volunteer and sign our petition. If you'll find volunteers scattered around the city at businesses, parks, other locations. And if we can get our signatures quick enough, we can actually get this recall on the ballot in November. And you can get more information at letoceansidevote.org. That's Let Oceanside Vote all run together. So, thank you, and that's all.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Dirk Acema, to be followed by Robert Walker, to be followed by Steve Mashu. Dirk, you're on. I believe we need to have you unmuted.
There we go.
Perfect.
Good. Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and Oceanside City Council members. My name is Dirk Acema, 30-year resident and Save Oceanside SAN member. Tonight, I'd like to talk about the Strand. The Strand is an iconic part of Oceanside. It's one of the few areas where you can actually drive on the beach. Nearly. People ride their bikes and people walk to enjoy the view. It's a great part of Oceanside. The Strand is showing some age, though. It needs a facelift. Sand blows across the street on the North Strand. Rocks and waves wash over the South Strand. Homeowners sandbag their property every winter to protect the storm surge and flooding on the Strand. It really needs a lot of attention. I'd like to suggest that the council ask staff to solicit bids to design what would be a seat wall that will protect the Strand and be an attractive improvement. A 3-foot high wall will catch the blowing sand on the North Strand. You probably saw all that sand that accumulated earlier this year when we had that windstorm, and contain most of the cobbles and waves that wash up on the South Strand. Here's another idea. While the city is planning a seat wall for the Strand, they could talk with the Army Corps about burying a permanent pipeline along the wall to pump sand during the annual harbor dredging. A permanent pipeline would save Manson Marine time and save the Army Corps plenty of money every single year. When you look at the time, effort, and expense used to drag that pipe in and then 3 weeks later drag it out, it's enormous. We can save all that time and money. Outflows for this permanent pipeline could be created at Breakwater, Surfrider, the Pier, Tyson, and Wisconsin Street to distribute sand all along the beach. Also, if we had a pipeline there, it could be available for a sand bypass project, which would be pretty exciting. Carlsbad has a low wall along their beach south of Tamarack. Some nice design features in the concrete add interest to this attractive wall, which catches a lot of sand that would otherwise blow across Coast Highway. The low wall also serves to protect the highway from flooding and property damage and allows traffic to maintain current flow. Anyway, this type of project is a project that Oceanside needs that could possibly qualify for a federal infrastructure bill or some type of state grant. It's easy to imagine how useful and attractive a seat wall along the Strand would be. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Bob Walker, to be followed by Steve Mayhew, to be followed by Sherry Mackin. And Mr. Walker, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, council members, my name is Bob Walker, and I'd like to talk tonight about sand retention devices and surfing. I am aware that we have some citizens who claim that sand retention devices such as groins and jetties are bad for surfing. Yet if you ask any surfer from Oceanside where their local surf spot is, they're always going to say it's either the North Jetty, the South Jetty, or the Pier. You're never going to hear them say their local surf spot is Robert's Cottages where there's no jetties. And yes, the pier pylons also work as a sand retention device. And the devices are a little bit more porous than the solid rock jetties. The Ocean Beach Pier is a great surfing spot. Scripps Pier, Oceanside Pier, San Clemente Pier, and the Huntington Beach Pier. They're all great surf spots. They actually hold the U.S. Surfing Championships at the Huntington Beach Pier, which is a sand retention device. Just south of Huntington Beach, there is a great surf beach where the world surf community knows about. And that beach was made great by a jetty. And it retains sand, and it keeps sand from going into the Balboa Bay. The beach I'm talking about is known to the world as the Wedge. This summer, all the world's eyes are going to be on Japan as they host the Summer Olympics, debuting surfing as an Olympic sport. During the surf contest, when the drones pull back and get a good panoramic video, take notice of all the groins up and down the beach. There's about 7 or 8 groins that are on this beach that they're going to be holding this contest. And remember, Japan is an island. And so they've got lots of beaches. And it's interesting that they chose that beach with groins to premiere to the world this great surfing event. Sand retention devices work. And when they're done right, they're not going to hurt surfing. And in fact, there's a good chance that they will create some new good surf spots. Although we have some do-nothing South Oceanside citizens who are content with the lack of beaches down south, we also have many other South Oceanside citizens who are not happy with the conditions of their beaches. And I ask you, please do not drink the do-nothing Kool-Aid and just do nothing. Please continue your hard work to preserve our beaches and get some sand retention devices in as soon as possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Steve Mayhew, to be followed by Sherry Mackin, to be followed by Nick Ritchie.
Hi. I'm Steve Mayhew, a retired Air Force colonel, engineer, and a member of Save Oceanside Sand. In previous weeks, I explained how Santa Barbara sand bypass has operated successfully for 90 years and how Newport Beach's growing field has worked well for over 50 years. I'd like to talk today about Ventura's groins. Like Oceanside, Ventura realized they had a problem with sand loss in the 1950s. Ventura started building groins to retain sand in the late 60s. They completed the groins and backfilled with significant amounts of sand in 1967. Ventura Beach is about 2 miles long and has 7 groins, each of them about 400 feet long. This is what it looked like in November of 2019, much the same as it looked in the 1970s. As you can see from the close-ups, the groins and sand accumulation has not changed much since 1972. Yes, Ventura does have to replenish periodically, but the sand loss problem is controlled. Ventura Beach installed groins 50 years ago. The groins do their job and have not interfered with recreation, and many say they've enhanced surfing up there. Oceanside needs groins too. Our current local coastal plan, the land use plan, was certified by the Coastal Commission in 1985. And you can see there's a paragraph in our LCP that recognizes that Oceanside at the time was pursuing the installation of groins, and we were only trying to find the money to do it. Well, hopefully we'll find money to do it and get it done as a result of this upcoming sand study results at the end of June. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Sherry Mackin, to be followed by Nick Ritchie, to be followed by Tricia Louise. Sherry, you're on.
Thank you, Zeb. As Speaker Madlock's discussion about sand on our beaches, it's too bad he, like others who speak on behalf of SOS, do not disclose they are beachfront property owners merely wanting to fill their private beaches with the public sand. Please note the group chooses words such as engineered solution, hard structures, etc., all code words for groin fields. If it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, then it's probably a duck. Once you build a groin, there's no going back. It's not a good neighbor policy either. At Build Out, the consultants have repeatedly stated there will be a groin field, a 12 groin field. Don't be fooled. There are other solutions such as sand bypass systems or sand replenishment. We really should start with determining the new high tide line, which I'm sure will be somewhere on the beachfront property owners' private beaches behind all that riprap. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Nick Ritchie, to be followed by Tricia Louise, to be followed by Christopher Layton. And Nick, you're on.
Thank you. Council members, Mayor, my name is Nick Ritchie. I'm a board member of Save Oceanside Sand. In the near future, the council will be faced with making one of the biggest decisions for the continued healthy existence of Oceanside. To not make a decision at this point in time would be fatal to our beloved beach city. In the 1980s, the Oceanside City Council funded a sand study which yielded recommendations to improve our beaches. That city council did nothing, and the destruction of our beaches progressed. In the 1990s, another Oceanside City Council funded another sand study, which yielded recommendations. That city council also did nothing, and the destruction continued. And now, here we are. The results of the current sand study will be revealed on June 30th. As you know, you will eventually be making a decision based on the study's recommendation to save our sand or do nothing, hastening further beach degradation with a negative economic impact rapidly following. We urge you to become a student of our beaches, walk them, study the past 2 sand studies, read the last preliminary recent and sand study, ask questions, know the topic, our natural resource, before you vote. To not act, to not vote for a plan will be the death knell for our beaches. We have the science. We have $32 million federal dollars for infrastructure in the city. We know that trusting an agency that can't get the dates for the Grunion Run is self-defeating. We can begin restoration. The city needs a point person who does nothing but beaches, a beach director. Harbor and beaches exist, but as you know, the beaches in that title is a rather ludicrous one. Harbor has near to zero to do with beaches and nearly $0 to the beaches. The beach is our most valuable asset, and there exists no city entity to restore, maintain, and nourish our beaches. It makes no sense. We propose a new position be created, probably a consultant who would be tasked to seek state and federal grants, interact with state and federal legislators, keep Army Corps on task, and 24/7 monitoring of our beaches to ensure that these beaches we have will be taken care of. Either decision to act or not to act to save our sand will be controversial. The Coastal Commission and its allies attempting to intimidate Oceanside and other beach cities with their legislative overreach is going to take place. When you vote for a plan or not, you will be harshly criticized. Yet, the existence of our beloved
If you could wrap up your
beach
comment, Nick.
city, the city called Oceanside, is in bounds. Have the wisdom and courage to act. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Tricia Louise, to be followed by Christopher Layton, to be followed by Carol Green. And Tricia, I believe we have you on.
Good evening, Mayor Sanchez and City Council members. Like so many, my name is Tricia Lewis, by the way. Like so many of us who grew up in Oceanside, some of my fondest memories revolve around the beach. In junior high, would meet up at Buccaneer Beach. Then in high school, would move over to Harbor Beach. And then years later, we'd come back to the beach with our own children. But more recently, my favorite pastime is walking on the beach. And I'm not alone. Walking on Oceanside beaches has become hugely popular. That is, until the most recent storm took away the sand, except at Harbor Beach. Harbor Beach was protected, the sand at Harbor Beach was protected because of the South Jetty, which is essentially a groin. The damage to Oceanside beaches is not natural, it's man-made. We all know the history. The Army Corps of Engineers promised to mitigate damage to Oceanside beaches when they built the harbor. If we want to protect the beaches south of Harbor Beach, we'll probably need to install groins or some other man-made structure, a man-made solution to a man-made problem. It distressed me to hear an Oceanside official argue that Oceanside can't have groins because the California Coastal Commission wouldn't allow it. We need to turn that conversation around. Oceanside representatives should be telling the Coastal Commission what it is Oceanside wants. After all, the Coastal Commission is not a divine order. The Coastal Commission is a group of people, a group of public servants. If Newport Beach can have groins to retain their sand, why can't Oceanside?
Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Our next public comment is from Christopher Layton, who is here in person, to be followed by Carol Green, to be followed by Dan Matlock, to be followed by Sandra Martinez. Mr. Layton, you're on.
Yes. Hello, my name is Christopher Layton. Thank you for hearing me, Honorable Mayor and council members. I come before you today to express a city problem that's important to me, and that is the problem of homelessness. I'm sure it's not the first time this has come before you, but it's the first time I've come before you. I represent my dental office, which is in Oceanside over by the DMV, just north of Buena Vista Creek. And one of the difficulties we have is that a lot of people that are homeless are living down in that creek. And then they're coming up during the day and causing scenes in the shopping center in which my business is located. We've had people expose themselves. We've had people injecting things into their arms right underneath my window. Today, we had someone come through my office barefoot and in shambles. They made it through the door and into the hallway and caused a disturbance in my office. And one of the reasons why I'm here is because the problem seems to be getting worse. It seems to be growing. There seems to be more people down at the creek, more people up in the parking lot during the day. And it seems that the security guard's hands are tied. There's not much he can do. The fences are put up and they're cut through in a day. And I don't pretend to have a solution. I understand it's a difficult problem. But I thought it was worth my time to come and express that concern to you, the City Council. I look to your wisdom to be able to help us with the problem of homelessness in the city of Oceanside. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Layton. We do have staff here that could speak with you. We have our chief, Armijo. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him. He's our, how long have you been chief now? 2 months.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Next public comments from Carol Green, to be followed by Dan Matlock, to be followed by Sandra Martinez. And Mrs. Green, you're on.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Thank you for listening to me today. I was interested, as I listened to you a few different times, I looked up the mission of the City of Oceanside, and it is to enhance the quality of life through outstanding service to its diverse community. And I would hope that each of the members of the City Council would keep this in mind as you perform your duties. My purpose in speaking to you today is to give you some information about mental health. And we do know that mental health is a contributing factor sometimes to people that experience homelessness. In honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, I'd like to let you know that destigmatizing mental health is one of the goals. And good parenting does not prevent mental illness any more than it prevents cancer. According to the National Association on Mental Illness, there is a strong correlation between marijuana and the onset of psychosis. Studies show that marijuana is linked to schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, increased anxiety, and other mood disorders. This is information that you can find on the NAMI website, and it's information that you can find on the U.S. Health and Human Services website as well. Unfortunately, commercialization and marketing sometimes convince us of things that are not true. It took more than 30 years, lots of money, lawsuits, to realize the lies the tobacco industry was telling us were lies indeed. The packaging's changed, but the playbook is definitely the same, as the marijuana industry tries to convince us with billboards, Instagram posts, other social media posts, and campaigns that target our kids. And you don't need to look far to find these. So please do not continue to make choices saying that you're honoring the business community by allowing the commercialization that is really damaging our kids. As leaders in the city, I implore you to think about the true cost of your actions. The reason that you entered public service, supposedly, was to protect public health and safety. Please find real information. I believe Mrs. Gordon mentioned a place that you could get some real information tomorrow morning, and make the changes that are necessary to promote and enhance the public safety, which you are charged with bringing to us all. Remember, the mission is quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Dan Matlock, to be followed by Sandra Martinez.
Council, again, Dan Matlock, South Oceanside, and Save Our Sand advocate. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The city has subjected itself to the law of unintended consequences a number of times in years past. As a rule, the law of unintended consequences tends to not surface with results for several years, eventually reaping positive results or inflicting catastrophic harm. And the elephant in the room? Managed retreat. Managed retreat is at the city's downtown doorstep, and the financial implications of managed retreat are enormous, but I will just mention a few of those items. If there is no sand on the beach, Oceanside will attain a reputation for no sandy beaches to recreate on. Consequently, short-term rental and hotel bookings will decline with the loss of TOT tax. And if the financial health of the downtown district is ever called into question, the bond rating agencies will surely punish the city with negative ratings. So if anyone thought this pandemic was bad for Oceanside business, just think about what if the city does not arrive at a solution sooner rather than later for sand replenishment and, more importantly, sand retention. In the coming weeks, all stakeholders will be introduced to engineering and science-driven facts to enable and arrive at a solution that will protect massive investment in Oceanside. Please do not let managed retreat inflict catastrophic harm on the business community, the city's tax base, and the overall financial health of the city that supports many of the other projects that are near and dear to you as a council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Sandra Martinez.
Hello, Ms. Martinez. Thanks for being so patient.
Thanks. Is this how it works? Okay. Hi, Mayor. Hi, City Council members. Oceanside citizens ask that you stop complying with these nonsense county health emergencies. This is based on completely faulty PCR testing. The facts are, Dr. Mullis, the inventor of PCR testing, warned that this test cannot diagnose anything. The WHO stated PCR assays are an aid for diagnosis in combination with clinical observation. Driving up in your car, getting a swab thrust up your nose is neither clinical observation nor diagnostic. PCR results have a 90% false positive rate due to the high cycle threshold. Dr. Hodgkinson, chairman of a company which sells COVID-19 tests, says positive results alone do not mean infection. In a study of 10 million people, there were 0 cases of asymptomatic transmission. Portugal, Germany, Holland, and Australia all legally ruled that PCR tests are not suitable for diagnosis. As our local representatives, your job is to represent us. When the government acts without merit, is dangerous to the public, violates our rights, and removes freedoms, this is tyranny. When the government restricts effective medical treatment, targets doctors who recommend vitamin D, threatens pharmacists who fill prescriptions of hydroxychloroquine, and the government patented SARS-CoV man-made virus in 2005, then patented COVID-19 PCR tests in 2017, and distributed those tests globally in 2018, this is deliberate. Unfortunately, many people still believe the deception due to the power of the media. They have been conditioned to be saved by the government rather than doing their own research and helping themselves, just as an abused wife still loves her abuser husband. We are being abused by our government. From the abuser's playbook, our government has used confusion, fear, division, blame, chaos, dependency, emotional blackmail, false accusations, harassment, isolation, masking, name-calling, normalizing, violence, selective memory, shaming, thought policing, and threats. A government that employs these tactics does not have our best interests at heart. We citizens understand that the City Council wants to continue to receive state and county funding, and in order to do so, you must comply. But the cost of compliance is far greater than the amounts of funds received. Once one gives into tyranny, the perpetrators only gain more power and become more demanding, as we saw when 2 weeks became 14 months. This abuse of power will not end with COVID. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Be heroes and leaders.
Thank you, Ms.
Stand
Martinez.
up, stop the tyranny, and stop complying with this false and political health emergency.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're finished, is that correct?
That is correct. That's the
Okay,
final
we're
public
now
speaker.
on item number 24, which is adoption of an ordinance amending Article 2 of Chapter 11 of the Oceanside City Code to regulate outdoor burning and open flames, introduced May 5th, 2021 at 5:00. Do I have a motion for adoption? Was that Councilmember Weiss? Okay, so we have a motion and a second, please vote.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I need to title even. It's in the code, even though you just read it. It still have to enter the code. This is the adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Article 2 of Chapter 11 of the Oceanside City Code to regulate outdoor burning and open flames.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Back up to general council member comments. Anyone wish to speak? Deputy Mayor Keim.
I know we had a lot of sand statements tonight, and it is a huge concern, I think, for all of us up here. If you go to Oceanside Boulevard and Buccaneer Beach, those have been in the worst shape that I've seen. So I discussed it with staff recently. They're looking for, it's every year they try to backfill and take care of the beaches at Buccaneer, but I think this year it's even more critical. So I'm looking forward to bringing something forward to see if we can make some kind of progress before summer. It was unfortunate that we didn't get any sand south of the pier. So I'll let you know this is a priority, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to make some progress on it.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodriguez.
This is a question for the city attorney. There's a lot of conflicting information with respect to mask wearing and not mask wearing, vaccinated and not vaccinated. As a chartered city, now that we're at this point in time, knowing what we know, what risk do we run as a council to say, hey, if you don't want to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. If you do, you do. This is what the science is saying. This is what the data is saying, regardless and irrespective of what a governor is saying and what a county health official is saying. The science is saying we're fine. What would be the recourse? What risk do we have as a body representing our constituents?
Not to dodge the question, but, we're not agendized to talk or take action with respect to it. But, we're still subject to Cal OSHA regulations. So to the extent that the mask wearing requirements are still in place for our workforce, then we still need to comply with them. With respect to in general with the public, we haven't written, to my knowledge, a single ticket to anyone for not wearing a mask in public. So really, we've been trying to educate, the city has, and ensure that people are aware of the order, but we haven't taken any punitive action against anyone that I'm aware of with respect to that mask order. So I think it's mostly been educational from the city's end at this point.
So if a business decides, hey, we don't require masks, we're not ticketing for that. Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Wonderful. Well,
nor have we throughout the
time to take the masks off Oceanside, and it's time to go back to work. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Jensen.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the callers regarding sand retention, which is a huge priority of mine as well. Buccaneer Beach is extremely sad for me. That was my childhood beach. We walked under the trestle and went to the beach every single day, all day long in the summer. And it's devastating to see that Buccaneer is nothing but rocks. And I sincerely believe that hopefully we can make that a priority to get some sand to Buccaneer and do something for permanent retention of the sand. And I just want to acknowledge the callers and let them know that is definitely a priority.
Okay, thank you. No other comments. I do want to say, obviously we all have our individual opinions and positions. For me, we have not reached herd immunity. I think it's still critical. We still have deaths happening in Oceanside and San Diego County, but we are doing so much better. And I am looking forward to June 15th. Us coming together. I have relatives who are at risk, and of course, out of respect, I definitely wear a mask around them. And certainly, it's going to be an individual situation. If you're not sure that people have or have not been vaccinated, it's really going to be up to you. It is a horrible situation to end up in the hospital, possibly die. So yeah, there is a lot more science, and I do hope that all of us make it through and as healthy as possible and continue to bring back our economy here in Oceanside. So no other comments. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting to Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021, 3:30 p.m. for closed session. Thank you.